I investigated this context carefully, and I found that by investigating the context, we can change the theory as well. Not just a sport-specific theory, but also we can change the mainstream in the science, in the management science.
That was the voice of Mohsen Loghmani, the guest on this episode of The Knowledge Mill. I'm your host, Greg Yoakum. Mohsen Loghmani is a work design consultant, sports management researcher, and educator. His work draws on top-down and bottom-up job design practices to increase the productivity of volunteers and professionals who work at various levels, i.e. community-based level to high-performance level. Mohsen graduated from the University of Guilan, Iran, with a master's degree in sport management and joined the Department of Sport Management at Shafagh Institute of Higher Education in 2014 as an instructor. He taught sports management and development-related subject areas such as organizational theory, human resources management, organizational behavior in sports, research methods in sports management, and seminars on undergraduate and postgraduate degree pathways. In July 2019, Mohsen moved to Griffith University as a visiting scholar. After 2 years, in July 2021, he became a research assistant and sessional tutor at Griffith. At the same time, he started in the PhD program in sport management there. As his most important academic achievement, Mohsen, alongside Associate Professor Popi Sotiriadou and Dr. Jason Doyle, was awarded the 2023 SMAANZ Industry Engagement Grant to undertake research around volunteering in community sports clubs. Outside of academia, Mohsen has worked in the sports industry within sports organizations and events. He was head of the Sport and Recreational Department at Shafagh Institute of Higher Education, Iran, between 2015 and 2019, and organized several coaching and refereeing courses and sports events for students. He was also appointed as Voluntary Football Clubs Development Consultant by Football Mazandaran, Babelsar, Iran, in November 2021. He is currently providing some advice to the President and Executive Board in terms of how to establish voluntary football clubs across suburbs in Babelsar County. On the other hand, Mohsen started his refereeing career in 2005 in Iran, and he became a Football Australia referee in July 2019. He won the Referee of the Year award in 2021 from Football Gold Coast, Australia. By the time we sat down to record this episode, Mohsen and I had enjoyed a number of conversations, in the absence of microphones, that always seemed to veer into the philosophical. We indulge in that tendency a bit here as well, in pondering the future of our shared field of sport management, though the questions we try to answer have implications for researchers in all fields. This episode of The Knowledge Mill was recorded on December 1st, 2023 on the campus of the University of Canberra during the 29th Annual SMAANZ Conference. Show notes, including links to more information on some of the topics that Mohsen and I discuss, can be found at theknowledgemil.com/episode 11. That's episode and the numerals 11. Hello, Mohsen. Welcome to the program.
Hello, Greg. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure. We are here at SMAANZ. It's the end of the second day, so the formal aspects are almost done. We've got the dinner later today. How did your conference go?
To be honest, I'm very excited, especially today, because at the end of today, in the conference dinner, I'm going to get my award, Industry Engagement Award, so I want to dress up and take a shower and be ready to get that award. But in addition to that, this conference, I think, was very high-quality conference so far. We have HDR workshops in the first day of the conference, which was very helpful, especially the workshop about teaching philosophies in sports management. We understood how we have to and how we can shape our teaching philosophies in sport management, which is very important, especially in the Australian sport management community, because I think this is a big gap at the moment between academics to shape the teaching philosophies. However, I'm very glad to see that Dr. Sarah Weimer tried to shape these teaching philosophies among academics in the SMAANZ community.
Yeah, she's kind of leading the way with all of that.
Yes. And at the end of the day, I'm very happy to have her in our university, so I can have more chat with her in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. You've got unlimited access.
Yes, yes.
Did you present in the conference?
Yes, my presentation was yesterday, and I am very happy to have lots of academics, emerging academics or legendary academics like Dr. Professor Alison Doherty came, Professor David Shilbury, Professor Tracy Taylor, and the most important thing that when I was presenting, I realized that Dr. Alison Doherty took a note on my slides, and that inspired me, to be honest, because when you see the legendary professor in your field taking note your slide, is very inspiring for me. Maybe she doesn't know, but it's very inspiring for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And this was related to the award that you mentioned before, yes? The work that you're doing there?
The Industry Engagement Grant.
Yeah.
To be honest, it can be the first part of that, but the main part of the Industry Engagement Grant is going to be the result to be presented in the next year.
I see.
Yeah. And another thing that I want to add to my presentation in yesterday, that was related to one of the my attendees' tweet. I realized that last night someone tweeted my session. Because of lack of time, I couldn't talk about all my results, but I put it in my slides.
Yep.
I didn't talk about a specific result about relationship between parents and volunteers, because that was one of my results, but I didn't have time to talk about it.
Yeah,
but
just
I put
20 minutes, right? So
yeah.
It's not long.
Exactly. But I put it in my slides. But in the tweet that Professor Catherine Ordway, I saw that, I realized that she mentioned that relationship between parents and volunteers that I didn't mention during my presentation, but I put it on my slides. But she mentioned it, and she was excited about that. So that one was inspired me as well, because now I understand if I couldn't have time to cover everything in my presentation, at least I have to put it in my slides, because attendees can pay attention to my slides too. Yeah. So I don't have to worry about it. That's why we have to put everything in my slides.
Yeah, that's right. It's the conference presentation, because you only have 20 minutes. It's really just one touch point, right? And then you carry the conversation out into the hallway, or you might see people at the dinner tonight, and you pick up where you left off and you expand on it.
Yeah. It is. That's why I think we have to manage our presentation to not cover everything. Yeah. And then we have one more time slides of 5 minutes for Q&A, and then we can talk. If we are smart, we can talk about it in that 5 minutes.
Yeah. Well, that leads us into your PhD itself, because I do want to hear more about the Industry Engagement Award. But maybe if you could first tell us how you found yourself doing a PhD and what it is you're researching.
If I want to share my story of PhD journey, I have to say when I commenced my PhD, that was in October 2021, I had 2 years experiences as a visiting scholar at Griffith University in sport management. I worked with Graham Coskelly, and that period of time was very, very helpful experience for me to look at the sport management field widely. And that period of visiting scholar encouraged me to study PhD of sport management. And I decided to be a PhD student in sport management. And Graham Coskelly was retired in that time. So I was working with Dr. Popi Sotiriadou, and I tried to communicate with her and start my PhD. in that time. This is my commencement story. But if I want to talk more about it, the decision that I made for commencing my PhD actually comes from my background, my industry background. Mm-hmm. I am football referee, and specifically my concerns were about how we can motivate football referees more and more. Mm-hmm. And I found that there are kind of vulnerable people working in the community sport because they are in the front line of abuse behavior. So
and at all levels, hey?
Yeah. At all levels, yeah, exactly. And I try to work on these types of people, and I had some publications in the Football Referee Korea, and I published in a Sport Management Review and Managing Sport and Leisure, and I had good publication in that case. So I had good resume, and I had good vision about the sport management field. And I think everything was ready to commence PhD program in
sounds
sport
like
management.
Yeah, you were well placed, that's for sure.
Yes. And I think experiencing in the industry, in the sport industry, help people think critically in the academia. And if someone has the industry experience, they will be more successful in the academic career.
I would agree with you. Earlier today, I recorded an interview with Dan Ferguson that listeners might have also heard. And he also came from industry, so looking at urban planning and more the exercise science side of things, but has led him to sport management. And he was saying similar things, that he really values that experience from industry to now come into academia and have it both ways with the theory and the practice, and to see where everything will actually happen in reality. Yeah. As you say, I certainly don't have that as an academic. I had been a manager before, but not in sport management. Everything I know about sport, I learned through my master's degree and the PhD. And I know that I'm missing something. I know that I have blind spots, so it is an advantage for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think not only industry experiences can help you as a researcher, I think as a teacher, it's going to be very, very helpful. Let me give you an example, Greg. When I was working in the FIFA Women's World Cup as a ticket resolution assistant, that was incredible experiences. And after that, I went through the workshop that I teach. And I provided some brilliant examples of that football FIFA Women's World Cup for my students. And they're really excited about those examples. And I found that how much important industry experiences are, not only for a researcher, even for teachers.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's where there's kind of an identity crisis with universities at the moment about bridging that gap, because universities are not, and probably shouldn't be, others might disagree, shouldn't be job training, right? But it should equip you to go out into the workforce, engage critically, and go from there. And I think then having stories from the field, as it were, the students can see how the theory and stuff that you're introducing them to and asking them to engage with translates into the future career that they're trying to set themselves up for. It's really valuable. Exactly.
And in my PhD research, I also employed action research method because I personally believe that we have to, as a researcher, we have to make some significant changes in the sport industry. That's why in my PhD research, getting back to your question, in my PhD research, I employed these type of research method, action research, to understand how we can redesign volunteers who are working in the community sport clubs.
Yeah.
For this reason, we first identified how they craft their job, how they reshape or change their job informally, because everyone, not only for volunteers, each person can take their role, their job individually unique. So I try to first understand how they informally take their roles and how they change their tasks, how they change their relationships, and finally how they can think differently about their job. For example, if I am football referee in the community sport clubs, the officiating of the game is the main official part of my job. But based on my preferences and skills and based on my interest, I really like to be a GP or general practitioner or something like that. That's why I try to add first aid skills to my football referee career.
Right.
And then I communicated with someone who is expert in first aid skills. And then after a while that I learned about that, I thought about my football referee career, not just as a football referee, as a general practitioner, because now I can know how I can survive people on the field. So I want to be the first person that takes immediately action if something happens, injury or whatever incident, collusion or whatever happens on the field. So I want to be the first person taking action on the field. So that's kind of package, we call it job crafting. That means I craft my job based on my preferences. And then it's not always a positive thing, because if everyone adds some personal interest, maybe they are not aligned with the organizational goals. That's why I try to understand how we can align personal preferences and interests with community club goals and values. And after that, I conducted focus group with executive board members of the participating community sport clubs. And then I combined those practices, personal interests that come from job crafting practices, and then community or club goals. I combined them, and I want to actually, because research is on progress yet, so I am combining these two concepts together, and we want to design an intervention stage, like it's called action plan, redesigning action plan or job co-crafting action plan for volunteers. And then after a while, we want to understand what outcomes are for personal or individual outcomes or club outcomes.
Yeah, okay. Because there are some issues, right, with let's take for granted that volunteers are there, because attracting volunteers is one issue. But the volunteers that we have who are crafting their jobs and trying to seek that alignment with their own individual values against the group, the organization, I should say, there are, in the sport context, issues with retaining those volunteers, right? Maybe they're doing it because their kids play and the kids age out, and so they stop volunteering. But maybe what you're doing then can help with that. Maybe you can get people to stay on because they do feel that alignment with what they're doing, and they feel fulfillment because they've crafted their role. It's quite interesting.
Yes, and one of the coaches said the most important informal task that I use it is to educate parents how to volunteer. because some parents just turn up in the training session and do nothing.
Yeah.
And
Just ticking a box.
ticking the box, exactly. And so at the end of the day, we have to educate the parents because the main problem that we face about not volunteering parents is about knowledge. Actually, they don't know how to volunteer. They thought, it's going to be very big job. I don't know how to train, how to coach kids. But in the grassroots levels, we don't need to provide high quality coaching. It's just about the game. This is what the coaches said to me. It's just about the game. So we don't want to give them high quality coaching about the football. The football system. They don't want to be Messi or Ronaldo, you know. They want to just enjoy being a part of the club or enjoying the just participation. Yeah. So we need someone to help volunteers to make this environment fun and enjoyable for everyone, including parents.
Yeah. Well, because that's a different skill set entirely, right? It's one thing to know how to run some drills. It's another thing to know how to create an environment in which everyone feels safe and included and it's fun.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Not everybody has that skill set.
Yeah.
That's right. Well, so I did want to ask you about the Industry Engagement Award. How does your work tie into that? Can you tell us a bit about the project that you're going to undertake?
That's a dramatic story if I want to share with you.
I like a little drama.
I know you heard a lot about it. As you know, the deadline for the Industry Engagement Grant for SMAANZ was end of June this year. And then they extended for several reasons that I don't know it, by end of July. I can remember on 7th of July, I didn't want to apply for this grant because I had nothing to apply, and I had no idea about it. That's why I didn't apply until 7th of July. And what happened on 7th of July? For several reasons, I was very upset of something happened in my personal life, not with my wife. Another thing. Another thing happened in my personal life, and I was very upset and angry, and I didn't want to think about it anymore. That's why I tried to be stay on my office at Griffith University. And I just wanted to make myself busy with something else other than that personal life because I was very upset of that.
Yeah, sure.
That's why I tried to browsing on the internet, and I started searching on website of Australian Sports Commission. And I don't know why I choose that website, by the way. I started searching on that website, and I found that some document about the national plan about the sport volunteering, and also the action plan, national plan, OSPLAY statistics results, and lots of results about the sport volunteering. They are on the website, and I started reading that. And I started reading, and I found that they have 6 steps of action plan for sport volunteering. And one of them was redesigning volunteer role based on based on volunteer interest, community goals, and club goals.
Okay.
And I said, okay, this is me.
This sounds familiar.
It looks like they copied me, something like that.
Yeah, right.
Because they mentioned exactly what I am doing at the moment on my PhD. So I started talking to my supervisors, Dr. Popi Sotiriadou and Dr. Jason Doyle, and they kindly supported this idea. And we decided to email Australian Sport Commission, a sport volunteering section. And I emailed on, I think, 10th of July about this idea. And I said, look, this action plan, one of your action plan aligns directly with my PhD research. And at the same time, SMAANZ Industry Engagement Grant deadline is end of July. So if you agree with us, we can make a good grant proposal and apply for that opportunity. And this is going to be our first step of collaboration.
Yeah.
And I didn't get answer for 1 week. And I was so disappointed. And I said, okay, maybe something wrong with me. By the way, and after I think 12 days, give or take, I get answer. I got answered, and they said, "Oh, that's brilliant, and we want to know more about your research, and send us your brief of your PhD research and your proposal, grant proposal." And I said, "Okay, thank you so much." I started sending my proposal, and they read it and said, "Okay, we want to absolutely support your research," and after some back and forth, they provided a good support letter, and we attached to our grant proposal, and we applied 1 hour before the deadline.
Oh, wow. Wow. It was meant to be in many ways.
Yeah, at the same time, we were working on FIFA Women's World Cup, and I was heading back from Brisbane to my home in the Gold Coast, and I wasn't on the train at 11 p.m. and the deadline was 11:59 p.m. And just 1 hour before the deadline, I submitted, and we got it.
That's awesome. Well, congratulations, because it's
so
a huge deal, especially as a PhD researcher, to be able to do that. It speaks to the importance of the work that you're doing.
Thank you so much. I think the most important thing that when I'm thinking about these success, I can see how much important the teamwork is. I have very, very good relationship with my supervisors. They are very supportive, and they help me how to go ahead. And I think this is the key of our success, having good teamwork. We know very well each other, what is our strengths, and we try to use our positive things and make a big and significant work.
That's brilliant, because that's what you want. Like when you're doing a PhD, you're a student, but I always like to think of it more like an apprenticeship. And so you want to be with the masters, the experts.
When I received the email from Kevin Philo about our grant awarded, I started running in my home. I was very happy. Because I achieved a personal goal, but it took just 10 minutes. And after that, I thought broadly, and I said, okay, this is a good opportunity, brilliant opportunity for the SMAANZ community to start connecting with Australian Sport Commission, to have impact on the real world, on the Australian sport industry. And that's why I tried to communicate with Australian Sports Commission to come and attend my presentation, to have some connections with SMAANZ community. I don't want to be the only person in the SMAANZ community that have relationship with them.
Right.
I want others, because I think it can be very helpful for growing our field.
Absolutely. So now that you have this grant, which again is a huge deal, practically you were already doing your PhD. You're part of the way through. Has this changed the approach at all for the rest of the PhD?
Not really, but it inspired me to work hardly ahead of me. It's very inspiring, and this award tells me I am on the right track, and I should work on this way because this is true. This is the correct way. So in this case, I'm very happy to have this award because it gives me more confidence to complete my PhD and also to go beyond the sport context as we talked about it yesterday.
How is your project coming together? Are you doing a traditional thesis or is it by publication?
By publication. In the confirmation seminar, I decided to make my PhD by publication rather than traditional thesis because I believe that making a good quality and high quality output of the PhD can be very helpful rather than just writing the thesis and putting on the library. That's why I believe the outcome and publication from the PhD thesis is very important. And I think at the first step, I was successful because my first paper about literature review of job design in sport was published in Sport Management Review, a highly ranked journal in sport management. And we are going to submit our paper, another paper from my PhD, to Academy of Management Journal, which is very ambitious.
Aiming for the top.
Yes. But I think I am on the stage on my PhD that I can set my goal for that journal, because I investigated this context carefully, and I found that by investigating the context, we can change the theory as well. Not just a sport-specific theory, but also we can change the mainstream in the science, in the management science. For example, in my case, job design is the mainstream science. So I found that, for example, let me give you an example. In job design, we have two perspectives, top down and bottom up. But by investigating the context of sport volunteering, and specifically in the community sport clubs, I found that following just top down or following just bottom up perspective of job design is not enough. We need to combine both of them.
Right.
That's why we are developing a new concept which is called job co-crafting, that addresses personal or individual goals and organizational goals. So this is not just about the sport. So that's why we should distribute or spread this idea to our mainstream research, and that's why actually that is what Daniel Funk said about it in the 2019 article. He said, in the sport context, if you publish your article, it takes 9 years to spread your idea to everyone, which is very, very a slow process. And that idea tells me, if we have a new idea in the sport management, and if we found something new, we shouldn't go through just sport journals, sport management journals. We have to spread this idea to the beyond the sport journals. That's why this is my idea. That's why I want to submit my paper to Academy of Management Journal.
You and I were speaking about this at the welcome function the other night, and I was saying that I wished we had microphones in our faces as we were having that conversation, because I agree with you. Listeners might know that my PhD research was about human-centered design thinking, in which I was studying in the sport context, but I very much saw it as a context, and it was worthwhile. There are idiosyncrasies about the sport context that make it worth studying independently to other fields. But we need to, as a field, we being the sport field, need to give something. We are I don't want to say child field because that seems diminutive, but we're a subfield to the broader field of management. And it's those idiosyncrasies that allow us to exist. But if we're only talking to ourselves and publishing in our own journals and never thinking about the implications of, I shouldn't say never, I'm painting with a broad brush there, but if we don't frequently think about the implications of our work for those broader fields, exactly what you were just saying, then I saw a presentation earlier today by a colleague of mine at UTS Lewis Wales, and they were talking about using different methodologies in leadership studies. And it was the same idea that if we're only ever collecting data through these limited techniques, then we're not advancing fast enough in terms of developing theory, and we're not really generating new ideas. We're just confirming or disconfirming the old ideas. And so it's interesting to hear you say that, because I think you're thinking about it the right way.
Yeah, I'm not questioning the sport management contribution to the field. I think we have great context in sport management.
Yeah, it's a strong field.
Very strong field. I believe that we should continue.
Yeah.
Investigating this context.
Yeah.
But just focusing on this context is not enough. If we found something new, we should go beyond the sport.
Yeah.
That's why there is a big gap in sport management and management science generally, because I didn't see too much articles from sport management scholars in the management outlets.
They are out there, but as well, whenever you see a literature review, for example, most often it's of sport journals. So the articles that are published in maybe an Academy of Management journal aren't even in the selection criteria for such a literature review. It's almost as if they're not a part of the field. But
Exactly.
They are.
Exactly. Let me give you another example. Based on my research, when I decided to submit my paper to the Academy of Management journal, I started communicating with management scholars in my university and beyond. Mm-hmm. And also I'm going to work design conference, not just a sport, work design conference, very first conference in the work design field,
right?
In next February in Perth. To represent sport management scholars.
Be our ambassador.
Ambassador, exactly. So I started to communicate with them. And when I'm talking about this context, they really excited about this context because they don't know what this context is.
Yeah.
And when I described my research and my research outputs and findings, they said, wow, it's fascinating result. Let's go and find how it can change the theory in the job design theory. And we started talking, and they helped me to think broadly how we can change the theory. And now I know I have a big picture about how we can use this context, this strong context, to change the theory, and everyone can benefit of that.
Maybe what we're talking about is the logical next step, because it is maybe I might have sounded a little dismissive before, but the field of sport management, it's relatively new. This is only the 29th SMAANZ conference, so we're only talking about really 3 decades. It was very, very sparse before that. The Journal of Sport Management, NASM, their organization might be a little older, but still, back half of the 20th century is when all of this started popping up and started separating from management. And so considering that, and especially some subfields like sport for development, which is really just 20, 25 years old, we've come into our own. we've established, and the argument has been had, should we even have a sport management field? That's been debated, and we do have one.
Yeah.
And so that continues. But I think that's the next step.
Yes.
Is what can we do? How can we broaden our horizons?
It is very important to acknowledge that we have to appreciate our legendary professors and sport management scholars, because they brought up this context.
Yeah.
If they didn't do those hardworking and high quality works in sport management, we couldn't find, this context is very important and we can change the theory based on this context.
Yeah.
Actually, they grew up this context, and we have to appreciate this hard work. But the next generation, I think, you as a pioneer, because you talk about it, design thinking, and it's very important. It's not just about the sport.
Yeah.
So I think next generation is going to be on the sport, and at the same time keeping these contexts strong enough.
Yeah. I think that's important, and that's as you said. That's how we had an offline conversation about this. So just for some context, we were talking about the way I tried to set up my PhD, which was also by publication. So I was trying to get the word out there and get a head start on that 9-year diffusion time frame and horizon. But my whole approach was, okay, design thinking is a thing, and it's a management concept, and this was not the first time someone took something from management and tried it in sport management. That's how we have our field. But it's not enough to just cherry pick this thing and see what happens when you do it over here. It's worth considering. If it's worth taking it from there and putting it over here in sport, then it's also worth considering, if something different happened here that hasn't happened over here, what does that mean for over there? Maybe that's very confusing to hear just in audio form. I'm using hand signals to illustrate. But I wanted to understand, because design thinking itself is a relatively new concept. It really only became popular circa 2008, 2009, and really only came into its own empirically around 2015, 2016. So we're still learning what that is, really. We're learning how to talk about it. And I wanted to enter that conversation, and I wanted sport to be a part of that conversation. Yeah.
In my case, let me tell you how this context helped me to produce a new concept for the mainstream science. We have idiosyncratic deals, right? The negotiation between employees and organization or managers to arrange some works. We do know this one. But why I'm mentioning and I'm emphasizing the sport context? Because job design theory is much focused on profit context, because they don't know about the non-profit context, because much of the job design research is on paid employees.
Right.
But in sport, we have lots of non-profit context. We have lots of volunteers that contributing to the labor market, and we know this. So if we know this and these strong context, why we shouldn't produce a new concept in this context, right? So based on that, I said, okay, job design is focused on paid employee. Let's see how it's going to happen when we apply it in the volunteers. So my initial idea was the traditional one, just applying the theory from the beyond the sport to the sport. But in the context, I found that the community is very important in non-profit context, and volunteers are quite different to employees. And that's why I try to produce a new concept in this context, and then put it back to the theory. So we can take and we can give them.
Absolutely.
Like Adam Grant book, it says about give and take. So we can contribute based on this perspective, but conversely, take and give, not give and take.
Yeah.
First take.
First take, yes, that's right. Well, that's because there's also talking about community sport organizations, which you just alluded to. There's a wide range of sophistication there, right? That some community sport clubs are very small, and they're literally people sitting around someone's dining table, just like, okay, who's doing the canteen this weekend? who's running the parking lot, or cutting up the orange slices, or whatever, or the jobs that needed done.
Drinking tequila.
Drinking tequila, yeah, that's a very important job.
Very important job.
All the way up to still mostly volunteer driven, but part of maybe like an AFL Auskick kind of thing, where there's some sophistication and some professionalization to the operation, but it's volunteers. And so is that a factor in what you're looking at as well?
Great point, Greg. I appreciate that. Yeah, I found some differences between the organizational size or club size. I found that the community club that the organizational size is low, like around 200 or 250 members, they have just coaching problem, and they don't have any administrative stuff because it's very small community, a small club, so they need just volunteers to run the coaching stuff and training sessions, something like that. But in the bigger community club, like 1,000 members, that was one of my participating community club, we found that they don't have any coaching problem. And they have governance structure, how to divide the jobs, how they can get more people take on board to get the volunteer role. So yeah, that is the big difference. That's why I divided community clubs into two categories, based on organizational size.
Okay.
Low size and high size community clubs. Low size community club have coaching problem. That's why I try to solve the coaches problem in those clubs. But in the other side, we have the high size community club that need to solve the administrative volunteers. That's why I went through the administrative stuff in those clubs.
Okay, yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
This is all really fascinating, and I think it's important work. What is on the horizon for you in terms of, we spoke before about diffusing ideas, getting some publications out there, maybe speaking at conferences?
My biggest horizon is to publish my PhD paper to the Academy of Management Journal, because it's not just based on my personal perspective. I think publishing my paper in the Academy of Management Journal opens new opportunities for the SMAANZ community, not the SMAANZ, sorry, sport management community all around the world. So they can see, okay, so we can change the theory. Why shouldn't try that? Why shouldn't take this opportunity, take this strong context to change the theory? So I think publishing this paper in the Academy of Management Journal is going to be so inspiring for sport management scholars all around the world to change the sport management in the future.
Yeah, you're showing us the way.
Yeah.
Well, I'll be, we'll continue talking, and I hope you keep me updated about that, because I'll be really interested to see how you go.
Sure.
The last question that I ask everybody is something in your life not related to the PhD that you're excited about at the moment.
My family. I've got a brilliant family, my wife and my son. They are always supportive. They always support my personal life, my career life, and I really want to spend time with them. Sometimes I couldn't because of lots of do in the academy. You know better than me, Greg.
Keeps us busy.
Yeah, this is the common problem of academic. So I really want to spend time with them, and the best opportunity for me is to take my family to water park.
Okay.
And yeah, this is our best family time.
Nice. Yeah, and summer's ahead.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
the time is right.
Fighting with sun.
Yeah.
You know, in the water.
That's the job of dad.
Yeah, my second job.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, but it's not paid.
How old is your son?
Nearly 7.
Yeah, okay. So is he playing any sports?
He used to play football.
Yeah.
But he didn't enjoy anymore. I don't know why. I said, son, I am football referee. Why you're not interested in that? And he said he changed his mind, and now he's playing tennis.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you go. That's good. So you're getting probably a bit of an inside track on volunteering as well from that.
In the tennis lessons?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Why not? Yeah, absolutely. Because tennis is my second favorite sport.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I'm going to Melbourne every year to watch the Australian Open.
Oh, I'm jealous. I haven't been yet.
Really?
Yeah.
Why we shouldn't go there?
I need to. I am going to go to I'm going to be in Brisbane over the holidays. I'm going to go to the Brisbane International.
Okay.
Now that they've brought that back, but I haven't made it down for the Open yet.
Yeah, just let me know. We can go together.
That'd be great.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you very much for taking the time to sit down with me. It was really interesting to hear not only about your PhD, but about how you are. I think everything that you're doing in terms of trying to move the field, I won't say forward because that sounds like we're going backward, and that's not the case, as we said, but just in broader directions, to expand our horizons, and everybody wins if we do that. The broader fields win, we win, our students win because we're bringing those new ideas in. So I wish you all the best with that. Yeah, and it was great talking to you.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. I think your job is very important. Everyone in the sport management community need to understand and know the other stories because it's going to be very helpful. This kind of knowledge sharing is very important for our community, and your job is very important. I appreciate that.
I take that to mean if I ask you to do another episode, you'll be on board.
Of course.
Of course. Thanks again. Appreciate it.
No worries. Thank you so much.